They meet to kill each other online. It's nothing personal, just business. A whole industry has emerged to encourage gamers to take part in large tournaments. Money, fame, and even sponsorships await the cyber athletes who rise to the top.
We have already outdone the music market. The number of online gamers is around 9 million people. In some 2 to 3 years, there will be around 14 million of them.
12-year-old Alexander Fokin from Kiev got so deeply immersed in online games that force is the only way to get him to pay attention to the real world. For these people, the real world is simply not enough, so they bring all the diversions of virtual reality into their real life.
I'm a medical physicist.
And I'm a sound engineer. My wife Maria makes the costumes. I deal with the weapons.
Psychologists and psychiatrists argue whether or not the human mind can be affected by computer games, and if so, which part of the brain is responsible.
Virtual friendship, virtual love, virtual interactions, these all have a very negative impact on a person. This is the cingulate gyrus in the cortex. It's responsible for developing addictions. We don't know yet to what extent.
Sergei Bidzan and Kristina Malyutina, both 22, met through online gaming during a tournament called Point Blank. She played against Sergei but couldn't beat him using a keyboard and mouse, but she managed to defeat him offline. While he was tougher in the game world, Kristina turned out to be stronger in real life.
We started talking.
At the time, he already had a girlfriend, by the way.
Yeah, that's true.
It sure was.
Now, Kristina is here with him at every place where Sergei qualifies. Even though she is his most devoted fan, she won't play on the same team as him.
It's the same as working together with your partner. It means work-related arguments. Who really needs that?
Sergei Bidzan, captain of the Russian team Rox Kiss, is taking part in the major battle of the year at Point Blank. For the final, the largest European cyber arena in Kiev will see action between 12 teams of gamers. Point Blank is a post-Soviet cyber championship league. To be selected for the competition, you need to be among the top 3 winners of 4 online tournaments over the course of a year. It started out with 800 teams. That makes 4,000 online warriors. To rise to the top, a professional cyber sportsman must train hard for 6 to 8 hours a day.
If I have to play for 6 hours a day doing one and the same thing as if that were work, I'd do it, and everybody will do it, because we understand that this is the only way to victory. You can't just sit around doing what you like and expect to get first place all the time. You have to sacrifice something.
Sergei Bidzan earns good money through gaming. After receiving his bachelor's degree in law, he decided to focus on online games. His team has won tens of thousands of dollars in prize money and a car. Professional gaming has opened up huge opportunities for Sergei.
We'll get married and have many kids, a whole team from the start.
25 years ago, Soviet gamers used to play these arcade machines, which could be found in every movie theater lobby. It helps people idle away time before a film started. Today, this machine sits in the office of a major IT company that deals with the promotion and placement of popular computer games, including Point Blank.
This is a reminder of where we've come from and what we should aim to do. In the past decade, the video games market has been crazy. Those short few years have truly been a quantum leap in terms of the technology and the experiences we offer people.
According to business development manager Vasily Tadeev, the turnover in today's online games market in Russia is about $1 billion, and it's showing no signs of slowing down.
The alternative reality is an interesting concept. The idea has been bounced around for the past 20 years. It implies that there is a brighter layer set apart from our dull gray world, which exists only inside the human brain. We get connected to this virtual reality by means of a computer or potentially through some other interface like virtual reality headsets. Online games are just another facet of this phenomenon.
Psychologists are wary of the advance of this new alternative reality. Their observations suggest that online games can provoke heightened levels of aggression, particularly shooting games.
If a person gets used to certain reactions, they'll become the norm for him. As long as everything is okay in his life, he keeps them in remote areas of his personal life. He can separate different areas of reality. But if, for example, tomorrow there'll be some sort of tragedy or some sort of anger or aggression in this person's life, that can become a trigger that will mix up all these realities.
Psychiatrists, however, have a different argument. They don't see a direct link between aggression in games and in real life.
If a child is initially ready to stab someone with a knife, then a computer game is not to be blamed. He is ready to stab someone with a knife regardless of computer games. The murderers of the 19th century, for example, didn't play any games on the PC, but still murdered their victims.
The gamers themselves are not concerned with such arguments. Their goal is simple. They just want to win.
I think it's just a myth made up by people, by parents who say that their child spends too much time on the computer, that it's too violent or whatever. But that's just nonsense. It's a myth.
But it is not a myth for the Fokin family in Kiev. Yelena is a manager at a printing company. She has 2 children, 12-year-old Alexander and 7-year-old Alexei. Their mother raises them alone, but spends most of her time at work. Eventually, her oldest son, Alexander, became totally immersed in online games and lost all track of the time he spent on the internet.
Отключить, пожалуйста.
Нет!
Это для тебя.
Я сказала, замолчи, дура!
Выключаем.
Чтоб ты сдохла!
Выключай.
Alexander doesn't try to conceal his hobby from anyone.
Если хотите знать, я хочу вам показать там, где будет мясо, матюки, убийства и голые сиськи. Сейчас увидите. Ой, как классно!
The Ukrainian TV channel STB reported on the 2 boys' misbehavior. Alexander and Alexei devote all their free time to online games, and the imbalance can be seen in every sphere of their lives, such as their diet. They feast on an endless and unhealthy mixture of junk food and sweets.
Yelena, hello.
Hello.
We've carried out a diagnostic prognosis, and now we know how your children are going to look when they are 40. Would you be interested to see the results?
But of course. It's horrible.
Psychologists help set new rules in the home. Now Alexander is allowed to spend no more than 1 hour at the computer. There's a complete ban on violent video games in the house, porridge in the morning, preferably oatmeal, and low-calorie food for lunch, like boiled meat and vegetables. But Alexander doesn't take kindly to the changes. He refuses to eat the food given to him and rushes to the computer after his meals. When she gets home from work, their mother has no time to control the situation. The psychologists believe that because of Alexander and Alexei's violent behavior at such a young age, they could end up as criminals in later life.
What are you doing to your brother?
I have several pictures here. The younger brother, Alexei, was drawing a tree, but he ended up drawing an axe. In this picture, Alexander drew a house, but he finished drawing an axe. Now, you could have doubts about it, but the boy took that piece of paper and began using it as an axe.
Саша, у нас проблема с компьютером, ты знаешь.
Я не хочу слушать.
Потому что ты зависишь от компьютера. Компьютер взял над тобой верх. Отказаться от компьютера надо.
Эти правила идиотские.
Нет, Саша.
Я не выбираю ни то, ни то.
Это ради твоего здоровья, правильно.
Я на свое здоровье!
Саша рос рядом с мамой.
Alexander has been raised by his mother, who at one point missed out on his upbringing. And when she had the chance to take the situation under her control, she failed to do so. And it seems to me that she didn't do it because she doesn't want to.
As a result, a harsh outlook on life took root in the boys' impressionable but unchallenged minds.
Нет!
Да.
Нет!
29-year-old lawyer for a Moscow pharmaceutical company, Dmitry Vinogradov, spent many hours playing violent computer games. On November 7, 2012, he took 2 shotguns to work. It took just 18 seconds for him to shoot all of his colleagues down in cold blood. 6 people died. Vinogradov's favorite game was Manhunt, now banned in many European countries. The murderer posted his guiding principle on his social network profile page.
I hate society, and I can't stand being a part of it. I hate this life. I see only one way to fix it. Kill as many of the scum as possible.
Full name?
Dmitry Vinogradov,
Year of birth?
1983,
Where were you born?
in Moscow.
Are you married?
No,
Do you have children?
no.
What weapons were on your person?
A Weber 12 and a Benelli M3.
6 months before the incident, Vinogradov had suffered from depression, had seen a psychologist, and was taking antidepressants. Today, scientists in Russia and around the world are looking into how computer games, especially violent ones, can affect behavior, particularly in people with mental health problems.
The amygdala is part of the brain responsible exclusively for emotions. It can grow in size, while other parts of the brain responsible for rational behavior, that is, those sections that help us keep restraint and be pragmatic with our emotions, those parts start to shrink.
In other words, it is argued that computer addiction leads to emotional stress, and emotional stress leads to murder. It's a common opinion among psychologists, while psychiatrists seem to disagree. The Brain Institute of the Russian Academy of Sciences does not confirm that prolonged exposure to computer games on a daily basis leads to physical changes in the brain.
I don't believe that there are some structures found in the brain of computer addicts that are responsible for this sort of addiction. They may have something to do with addiction, but I can easily show you addicted people without any changes in their brain. This is the cingulate gyrus. I'm indicating it with a cursor. Here it is, and it's pretty big. It's responsible for developing addictions, but we don't know yet to what extent.
To tell you the truth, I've never wanted to use something I learned from the games in practice or in real life. That is to say, if there's a fight in a game, I don't feel the urge to take a gun and shoot someone in the head. You know, for me, there's a distinct boundary between reality and what's on screen.
When I see a star appear on screen, it means I killed someone.
Sergei Bidzan's reality is a cyber tournament. So far, his team has been doing well. They've made it to the finals. Soon, they'll know who they'll face in the final battle. It seems most likely that they'll be up against the Z Nation team.
It will be very difficult for the guys. This is one of the most difficult steps on the way to the finals of this championship.
Zed Nation makes it through to the final after a decisive victory.
We have the will to defeat those who seem stronger than us, so you play to 100% and then to 200%. Those guys pushed hard and really kicked our butts, but it was what we needed.
Now the two teams, Rox Kiss and Zed Nation, will come face to face in virtual combat. The big question of the season is whether the long-standing underdogs will this time prevail. Tall, strong, and ready to defeat all enemies who stand in his way. That's how Alexander Zinko appears online. Behind the keyboard, however, the 27-year-old gamer from Minsk is wheelchair-bound and suffers from cerebral palsy. The computer is his only window on the world, and his only chance to constantly train his muscles and exercise his intellect. It is hard for him to talk. This is the only way he can communicate.
Ну, здорово, Саш. Ну, что ты там?
Прикинь, Ника, не работает 2 дня.
Линейка уже 2 дня не работает?
Да.
Да ненормально все будет, что ты паришься? Вон у нас солнце светит, значит все нормально.
Круто.
Alexander Zinko's favorite game is Lineage 2. He spends 12 hours a day online.
Hello. Come in.
Привет, Саш.
Hello, Alexander. How are you, Sasha?
Robert and Alexander met 10 years ago as they grew up in the same apartment block. Since then, they talk every day.
So how's Lineage? I've not played in a while.
He's at level 98.
It was Robert who first introduced Alexander to the game, which is now part of his daily routine. Alexander quickly mastered it and has even surpassed his friend.
Don't go?
Come on, we'll see you out.
Alexander doesn't want me to go.
Of course he doesn't.
Alexander, I already said I'll pop by when I have some free time, but right now I have so much work. All right, Alexander, call me on Skype if something's up. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Rob. Don't forget, come back. Goodbye. For Alexander, his computer and the internet are everything to him. It's the place where he works, lives, plays, meets up with friends, basically everything. This game is everything to him.
Currently, Lineage 2 is one of the most successful projects in Russia and the CIS countries. Online games are basically endless. They're constantly being updated over the course of several years.
Localization of a game is not just about translation. Such games have no end, so every new detail must maintain the player's interest. For instance, designers draw inspiration from classical art forms.
We were planning to make a project with Rococo and Baroque design. We selected paintings by Bruegel and Bosch as references. What I mean to say is that we were inspired by those works when working on the project.
In the game Ion, the hero's appearance can be changed along with his costume and race. In Russia, hundreds of thousands of people play the game daily. It gets updated at least once a month, giving players new opportunities like buying virtual clothes with money.
We could offer the designs to players, or maybe organize a competition.
No, a competition is not a very good idea. We could make a poll for users, show them the pictures, put them to a vote. Let's say a maximum of 3. Then the best 3 are made, and the next time we do another 3.
Fans of the game meet up at a special party sporting the costumes and makeup of their heroic avatars online.
My wife Maria makes the costumes. I deal with the weapons.
I'm a medical physicist.
And I'm a sound engineer.
Every character has either black or white wings. Players use them to show which faction they belong to. They also serve as a reminder that within the game, their characters are able to fly. At the party, the players divide themselves into groups of allies and adversaries, then take part in games on the dance floor and have as much fun as possible. The boundaries between the real world and the virtual seem to dissolve. Sometimes video games overshadow everything else.
It happens when you lose track of time, when you play the game long after midnight and then you have to go to work early in the morning.
A computer game is not just something you should point your finger at and prohibit, but people must understand that it could be dangerous. The most important thing is not to overstep the boundary.
Cyber sportsmen are at risk of some very specific injuries depending on their game of choice. The intense daily training can lead to anything from a sharp deterioration of vision to muscle cramps or even a nervous breakdown.
These guys have their eyes set on taking the throne of King of the Hill.
Everyone welcome Zed Nation!
The tournament in Kiev has reached its climax. Rox Kiss and Zed Nation are facing off in the final of the Point Blank tournament.
Now let's welcome Team Rox Kiss to the stage.
Sergey is known online as The Negative, and he plans to live up to his name in front of the crowd. But the round doesn't go as expected for Rox Kiss. Their chief rivals, Zed Nation, begin to rack up point after point. It seems to be all over for Rox Kiss, but then a breakthrough comes quite unexpectedly. Even though they were trailing in the final, Rox Kiss managed to regain its rank and take the tournament.
It was a complete blast. After the first map, I thought we were going to have a preliminary final, then the second comeback, and then the third round. Such a rush.
We tried. The whole thing was neck and neck. Everyone was screaming on both sides. I think we lost because in one match it was 4 against 1. That whole match set us back and swayed the balance. They got a boost while we started to weaken.
Zed Nation is defeated. Victory in the Point Blank final nets $6,000 for Sergey Bidzan and his team. This victory opens the way for new challenges, but Sergey and Christina realize, of course, that they can't keep playing forever.
I would like to be a referee, for example, or a community manager, dealing with news and videos, communicating with players and localization companies and developers.
I have big plans for the future. In the short term, it involves working with a company organizing these contests, both local and global tournaments. The army of gamers is growing very fast, right in front of our eyes. Of course, there are going to be more tournaments and the prize money will increase.
For the moment, Sergey Bidzan is lucky. There are few gamers out of the millions of players in the world who are able to earn a living through this activity.
We're saving for a trip to the Canary Islands where we'll spend our honeymoon.
On June 1st, we'll have our wedding. And we're leaving for our honeymoon in the Canaries right after that. Or somewhere else. It's a great idea. There's plenty of time.
There is all the time in the world to play games, but not enough for everything else away from the computer. Sooner or later, gamers will have to put down the keyboard. If they don't, they may end up losing something important that can't be fixed with a reset button.